Guys, this is a brand new news alert about Italy, about the greater Naples area, the Pozzuoli area, about the supervolcano Campi Flegrei. So it has been rattling there recently with earthquake swarms, magnitude 4.4, the largest earthquakes in 40 years. 4 is large for a volcanic activity. We're not talking about tectonic plate movements here, volcanic activity. And as we speak, is another earthquake swarm happening in the area. So I was sitting at home, I was just editing my latest Iceland update that I wanted to send out to you guys. But then I looked at the seismic charts and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, something's going on at Campi Flegrei. They keep coming. And not only microseismic earthquakes, large earthquakes above magnitude 3. So I was like, okay, I'm stopping to do what I'm doing, and I'll release the Iceland update after this video because I have to tell you about what is going on top of the supervolcano Campi Flegrei that is stretching in an area around 100 kilometers, and it's also stretching into the Gulf of Pozzuoli. So the swarm started at local time on June 8th at 3:52. You can see here the chart with a 3.0, and then we had another 3.0, and then 3.7, and that's the one I want to talk to you about today mostly. But then it was followed by another 2.7, and then another 1.6, 1.4, 1.1, 2.3, 1.3, 1.0. So they keep coming while I'm sitting here doing this video. So since we had that large earthquake swarm in May 20th, with the largest one 4.4, this is the second large event that we have. So together with the other one, because there are quite a few above 3. So this is not insignificant, guys. And I tell you why before we talk about what people have reported about this 3.7, because it was felt, because it was at a very shallow depth. And you know, you have to understand, because of that Bradyseism that has been happening at Campi Flegrei for years now, for several decades, the crust that keeps the lid on has only a strength left of 1/3 of its original strength that has just been released a while ago. So the more brittle that crust is, the easier it is for magma to find a way to the surface. And I made a video about this. There was a groundbreaking study released just a few weeks ago that did confirm that there is a magma chamber way closer to the surface than they originally thought. So it's at a depth of between 4 and 5 kilometers and not like 8 to 10, what they previously thought. There's a deeper lying magma chamber as well, but this one is shallow, so magma does not have a long way to get up there. And then we had, after the last earthquake swarm on May 20th with the 4.4, we know that the land has been rising continuously at the moment at a accelerated rate from 2 centimeters per month. It used to be just a short while ago 1 centimeter per month. And we have over, I think, 8.7 centimeters land rise already this year. So over that area of Campi Flegrei in the Pozzuoli area specifically, there's this land rise, and then we had this 4.4 earthquake, and the land rise stopped for a little bit, but then it accelerated, and it was just rising 1 centimeter in a few days. So we talked about this in my last video. Check it out if you want to know more about this, because the Vesuvius Observatory and the INGV, the Institute of Geology and Volcanology of Italy, they basically try to explain this saying, well, these are just anomalies, fluctuations. So they basically indicated it doesn't really mean anything. But if you're watching my channel in Iceland, we're watching these land rises since October last year. And land keeps rising, there's an intrusion or eruption, and then it keeps rising again. So was there an intrusion on May 20th? Was there a magma intrusion and now it's refilling? We don't know, guys. There's various theories. So the theories that it's coming from gases that through some cracks that have been formed by this 4.4 earthquakes had found a way to escape. That was one theory, but it's kind of debunked because none of the measuring stations has measured an increased gas release. So no more gas was coming out than usual. So, but let's have a closer look. 3.7, guys. So you can see the map here, 3.7 at the Campi Flegrei area. And it was at a depth of 3 kilometers. So the earthquake happened at a very shallow depth of only 2.6 kilometers, and it was felt over a relatively large area. So the shallow depth of the quake, of course, made it more felt than a deeper quake of a comparable magnitude. And there were quite a few reports of people feeling it and also feeling the smaller earthquake. So it was stretching way into the Naples area, into the Pozzuoli area, and into the neighboring areas as well. You can see here 2 kilometers away from the epicenter, Bagnoli, they felt it moderately strong, and Planura, moderate, Soccavo, moderate, and all the other ones basically moderate. Also Pozzuoli, 5 kilometers, 3 miles from the epicenter, because the epicenter was a little bit east of Pozzuoli, so more towards Naples, guys. So here on that map, the red circles, you can see how far this has spread out, and the waves were basically stretching into these areas and were felt by some of the people in these areas. So why are we experiencing these earthquakes again? Is this normal, guys? I don't think so. Everything has accelerated, has increased in intensity, and also the fumaroles in the Solfatara, they are getting hotter. And I want to show you, as we're speaking about this, I want to show you the latest INGV Vesuvius Observatory bulletin that gives us a summary about the month of May. What has happened there in May? And you see the map here, all the white dots. These are all the earthquakes, where the earthquakes were happening. And you also see the seismic measuring stations, the light blue stations, and also then the GPS stations, the stars, and the geochemical stations. These are the triangles. So that's where they have their stations set up. And what they are saying is there were 1,525 earthquakes in the month of May, and they're saying that never since 1984, where there was another Bradyseism Crisis, have they had so many tremors in just 1 month. So they are saying that there's earthquakes that are identified with the involvement of hydrothermal fluids in the area of this Solfatara area, Pozzuoli, Campi Flegrei. And you see the map here, it's dark red. So over 1,500 earthquakes recorded on top of the Campi Flegrei in May, and 11 seismic swarms. That includes the swarms of the days of May 20th and May 21st. And in these swarms, we also had the big one, the 4.4. So this bradyseismic phase has started back in 2005. And they're saying also in the last 40 years. So since then, it's getting more active. They are also identifying some earthquakes that between May 4th and May 6th, there were some hybrid events that they could identify. They were localized in the area of academia and at depth between 0 and 600 meters only. So they are saying that these are fluid involved incidents and an area of hydrothermal nature. And the greatest hydrothermal and seismic dynamics are concentrated in an area between the Solfatara, Peschiarelli, and Academia. So are they all fluid related? Well, nobody knows. They can say it is speculation. Fluids, gases, magma. Is magma continuously rising up? We have a magma chamber confirmed at a depth of 4 to 5 kilometers. So is it gradually increasing? There are a few signs because temperature is going up in a certain area. I'll tell you where in a second. So some of these earthquakes we just talked about, they're saying that the oscillation of hydrothermal fluids is happening in some small fractures and that this is causing some of the seismic events. And that similar stuff like this has also happened in 2006 and 2010. But they're saying also to these events, they're trying to pay very close attention. This new May summary also says that in the Peschiarelli area during May, the surface temperatures that they have acquired there by their permanent network of IR cameras shows the continuation of a slight increase in the long-term temperature trend. It's increasing. There must be a reason why it's increasing, guys. So in the areas of Solfatara and Via Antiniana, the maximum temperature values are substantially stable, even if characterized by strong fluctuations. So we have the fluctuations again. So they're saying the measurements with mobile thermal cameras carried out in various points of the Campi Flegrei show rather stable trends. A slight increase is noted in an area of Peschiarelli. But in the past month, they also notified an increase in the Solfatara area as well. So they are saying that the composition of these fumaroles and the monitored parameters, the data that they found, indicate the continuation of the multi-year trends of heating and pressurization of the hydrothermal system, which reached a maximum in July 2020 and then reversed until the first month of 2022. That's when a new increased trend began. That's what they're saying. The samples that they have in the last few months, however, they do not show a well-defined trend. So they don't really know yet what it all means. And now that we have another earthquake swarm, we have the news that they did dismantle the tents that they had set up in Pozzuoli. They were put up for the people after the 4.4 earthquakes when people were running on the streets and they had nowhere to go, to gather or to sit or whatever. And there was a lot of criticism that in these gathering tents, not even food or water was provided. People could not go back to their homes because some homes were deemed like uninhabitable, and it was quite a chaos, and they did get quite bad reviews. That's why they're starting a new campaign to get the civil defense more strengthened so that they can provide better responses to these earthquakes. So the gathering areas, the tents, they were just dismantled like 4 days ago. So they're not there anymore should there be a stronger earthquake happening. And the Vesuvius Observatory scientists said after the 4.4, well, get prepared. We could see a magnitude 5 or higher than 5 earthquake shortly. And I mean, look at that picture here that the Italian newspaper has released. This is a picture in the far background. You see the fumaroles, the steam coming up in the Solfatara area. And then you see how densely populated and built. They're building right on the volcano, on the caldera. There's lots of buildings, multi-story buildings. But, you know, the newspaper released basically a statement from the residents, and they want to stay. They want to stay. Is it human nature, guys, that when we hear about certain things, you know, we hear about a supervolcano in Italy, and our first reflex is, yeah, but Italy is not going to be destroyed. That can't happen. You just can't imagine that. That's why you think it's not real. But if you look at events all over the world where we have devastating earthquakes, volcanic eruptions and stuff like this, it is happening. And these people also thought it's not going to happen in my lifetime, because in my body, I can't imagine that this is happening to me. And I'm living basically on the Cascadia fault, that if this thing ruptures, it's going to produce a 9 or 10 magnitude earthquake. So they're saying this is the event that will destroy the Pacific Northwest. And I'm very aware of this. And I don't want to say I'm scared of this, but I want to be prepared, but it's hard to imagine that everything's going to be destroyed. Portland, Seattle, Washington, Vancouver Island, and it rips down until Northern California. So it is crazy, but I think after what we've seen happening in the world in the last only 10, 20 years, tsunamis, it is possible. It is possible. And if a volcano shows us unusual signs and rumbling, we should take it serious. And the scientists that work in Italy that are monitoring this area, they are taking it serious and they're giving warnings. Roberto Scandone has said in March he's been observing Campi Flegrei for decades. He said, if I had the resources, I would evacuate right now. That was before these strong, large magnitude earthquake swarms. And other scientists have also said, and they work there, they're the ones who monitor this, the seismic stations and everything. They have said your evacuation plans don't work. Come up with better ones. I want to tell you what one of my viewers posted in the comments, and I think, hey, thank you for posting this. It is very, very interesting for you to know what's going on with local people and the dynamics that are happening there. So the user writes, may I give you some insight about Italians, especially Italians in Naples, where my family is from. There are old family names in this area, people who can trace their ancestors back to the 1500s like I can. Anything before the 1538s was wiped out during the 1538 eruption. That was a Campi Flegrei eruption. So it would be passing the family roots down from oral tradition. I know one of my relatives wrote a book on the history of Naples in the 1500s, but there are no copies of it. My entire family left Naples to come to America. This would have been about 30 immediate family members, and each side had about 10 to 12 children. You can imagine how big the family is now. And yes, I can. That's great. So Italians in Naples that did not leave have extended family that is huge. 10 children, they grow up to marry, and then they have children. That's why Italian weddings are so huge. But if one goes, all must go. We would never leave a family member behind. And I think that's great. And this is the explanation. So the user says, and that's what's happening now. That's why people are staying. How do you evacuate your elderly parents with medical needs and all the children, and then all the children's spouses, parents, but then the spouse would have to abandon their family on, I get it, right? If you marry, both have families. It's intertwined. It's huge. So you can't think like an American. Not a lot of families in America all live in the same neighborhood and down the street. Yes, that is absolutely true. That makes sense. Italians and a lot of Italian Americans live this close. How do you evacuate knowing a spouse may not see their own family again? Wow, yes. To leave any of your family behind? No, never. Please try not to judge the families living there. To evacuate 50 to 100 people all at once, just in one family. To all evacuate the babies, the elderly, maybe pregnant mothers, and leave nobody behind. And yes, food is important to us. Where would we cook? How do we gather all the family pictures? Do we have pets, animals, a small farm? Which is mostly on the east side of Naples, outside of city. It may be impossible for some to know the family dynamic and the big emotions the Neapolitan families are facing right now. So thank you so much for that insight. And it touches my heart, and my heart goes out to your family, because I know what you're saying and I understand what you're saying. And that's why the problem is, I think you would have to evacuate everyone and everything, the whole area. But then, like I said, yes, you would need to find a new village for these families that it is logistically close to impossible. And I get what you say, because the normal reflexes, yeah, I pack, you know, you pack my husband, my children, my pets, my parents, the grandparents, or whatever. That's what people are thinking, and leave. But if the structures are so big, and then money plays a role, of course, right? You can't just leave and say, let's say you can say we can afford, if we put all together our money, we can afford a place for 50 to 100 people. But who can these days? Where would you go? Where would you buy? This is very, very dire, and it makes me nervous, and it's heartbreaking. I love Italy, and you know, I really hope that this volcano will never, ever erupt. And the same goes for Vesuvius, because there's 700,000 people in the red zone of Vesuvius. And we're talking in the greater Naples area, more than 3 million people, 3 million people. And I get it. I don't even want to think about what's going to happen if that volcano erupts. But, you know, you have the choice. Let's live our life the way we lived it, and just not freak out about something that we can't change because it's just impossible. Or should we sit there and worry and try? I really don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments, what would you do? And as the user said, please don't judge the people there, because yeah, it's a very, very difficult situation. More difficult than just pack a husband, kids, pets, whatever, like a cat container, and go in your car and leave. That's different. There have been reports about the recent shakings, and it's on that site here, Volcano Discovery. There have been 12 reports from Napoli, from Naples, and then reports from Bagnoli. And so basically, what did they say? You can look at it here. Bagnoli, rattling, vibrating in Naples, light shaking, horizontal, sideways swinging. So it's horizontal again. And that was a phenomenon that was noticed in the May 4.4 earthquakes, that the homes were shaking horizontally and not up and down. And that puts a strain on the foundations, on these old buildings, on these old stone buildings. And the danger to these buildings is not the one-time event, it's the ongoing events, rattling again and rattling again, that can bring these homes to a collapse or to the status of being uninhabitable. You can see where they felt it in Pozzuoli, also rattling, vibrating, rattling, single vertical bump and stuff like this. So put the video on pause so that you can read these reports. It's quite interesting. So one says it's like a train running by through his living room and stuff. So it was definitely felt and heard. What it means, we will have to wait for more analysis, and if there were damage reports, we will probably also hear about in a few hours. I just thought it's important to let you know about this, guys. I will keep you updated. Stay tuned. There's an interesting update about Iceland because the analysis results are back about the chemical composition of the current lava flow, and you'll be surprised. So that video is going to be next. Wait for it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're new here, please subscribe so that you get all the updates. Thank you for your support. Guys, thank you for buying me all the coffees on my buymeacoffee.com site. It keeps me going because the last few weeks were kind of exhausting with so much going on with the volcanoes and the earthquakes. And follow me on that page. It's totally for free. I'll send out emails if there's new eruptions happening. So it's buymeacoffee.com/silky24. The link is in the description of this video. I'll see you very, very soon, guys. Bye-bye.